Obviously, there's a lot of schizophrenics out there who are paranoid delusionals, and it must be hellish for them that now we openly live in a Big Brother society and someone really is watching them. But the establishment doesn't care about the poor schizophrenics at the bus stop talking to themselves. They care about the patent you've coming out with. They care about the fact that you saw the senator beating his wife. They want to know that you saw a drug shipment being flown into Mena, Arkansas. This allows the criminals in government, in the organized crime networks that have infested it, to basically get away with bloody murder. And I've interviewed so many CIA whistleblowers. I've interviewed so many Defense Intelligence whistleblowers, Delta Force whistleblowers, CIA contractor whistleblowers. It makes national news. You've heard them here. But a lot of this comes out on C-SPAN. But now with Edward Snowden and William Binney and others, there's no denying it. So there's this paradox that I was talking about earlier of where they've denied all this is happening. Now it's admitted, but they say, hey, you better let us do this or terrorists will get you. But then meanwhile, they're aiding and abetting radical Wahhabists all over the world in a destabilization program. William Binney is our guest. The toll-free number to talk to him is 800-259-9231. Please call with a question for him. We won't screen your call, but just ask a brief question so we can get a couple of your calls in. 800-259-9231. And the tweet questions are coming in at Real Alex Jones as well. We'll get to some of those here in a moment. But, sir, how do they get people into government that will engage in classical Soviet-style intimidation of the Associated Press, of Fox News, dossiers on drudgereport.com, on Infowars.com? That's come out in FOIA request. How do they get people to listen to your phone and then call your family member up and tell them they were listening to private conversations to mess with their minds, as has happened to me on 6 or 7 occasions? How do they get the governing class to engage in truly totalitarian activities?
Most people I knew at NSA were all very, patriotic, conscientious, hardworking people who believed in the Constitution and the rights of individuals. But the problem was a lot of them, about 85% of them were introverted type people. And that's come out by studies they've done on the population at NSA. They're on the Myers-Briggs scale. They're ISTJs, introverted, sensing, technical, judgmental kind of people. And so that's an easy class to intimidate. And that's basically what the government's been doing. They've been intimidating. That's why the Tom Drake trial was, they tried to make it open accusations against Tom Drake in public so that what they were doing was telling the rest of the population of the workforce that if you blow the whistle on us, we are going to come after you with everything we've got. And that's exactly, they showed, for example, the 60 Minutes program that was done back in May of 2011, about Tom Drake and the situation he was in. They showed that program internally in NSA to say, you see, to the workforce, you see, this is what's going to happen to you if you blow the whistle on us. So what they were doing was intimidating them, and they're very. It's a group of people who fundamentally are interested in or concerned about keeping their jobs. They've got families, they've got bills, they want to send their kids to college. They have all of those kinds of things, and it's all depending on them keeping a job. And so that's what they were doing there, is threatening them with their job and even their livelihood and their freedom. And that's fundamentally what they did internally in NSA and other places. And they later on, like right now, they're instituting programs internally in NSA to say, see something, say something, which means they're having the workforce spy against each other, just like they did in East Germany with the Stasi. So it's the same principles. They're applying those principles universally to intimidate people so they'll stay quiet. And that's how they keep them, that's how they get them to do what they want. Now, there's a certain portion of the population who loves doing violent things. I mean, that's the kind of thing that you can find those kinds of people anywhere, and they they tend to use them the way they will, against, like, for example, threatening you or threatening other people, and they physically threatening them physically, too. So.
Wow, William Binney, top NSA whistleblower, is here live on air with us on the radio and TV. At Real Alex Jones on Twitter, the questions are pouring in. Mr. Binney, one of those questions is, when do you think the end game is coming? That's from Ernie Ciarola on Twitter. When do you think the end game is coming? And I would ask you, what is the end game of this total surveillance society?
Well, it seems to me that they're tending toward a European-style government, or even more leaning toward a Stasi-type government, a Stasi-run government, where the intelligence service basically determines a lot of the policy of the government. And that's what's happening here. The intelligence community is more or less directing what the government is doing and how they do it. And it's basically affecting everything, even international decisions. Like they use them, I guess, to start the war in Iraq, and they used that kind of information back in the Tonkin Gulf for the Vietnam War. All that kind of stuff is trying to influence how the government's doing it. They're getting much and more involved, and it's building a much larger empire with contractors all around the country, and over a couple million of them. I mean, it's not. The Washington Post did a series of 3 articles on Top Secret America. That was a rather good article that laid out this bureaucracy that's been built up since 9/11 all around the country, and in fact around the world. I mean, well, when you push up to $100 billion into the intelligence community every year, I mean, that gets to, it's approaching $1 trillion now that they've spent on this since 9/11. Well, that's the kind of thing that builds a bureaucracy that tends to need to feed and continue feeding.
Yes, sir.
And so that just continues and perpetuates itself, and they try to gain more and more influence. Like, for example, it came out recently that even when they were running Minaret at NSA, one of the people they hid from the fact that they were spying on them was Senator Church, and he was running the investigation against them. So, I mean, it shows you that they have the capacity to do these kinds of things in secret. And Russ Tice has also come out and testified that they were spying on members of Congress and also, members of the military, the senior-ranking generals, as well as the members of the Supreme Court. And so on.
Then they use that when they want to destroy them to show they've got a mistress or a girlfriend.
Exactly.
And this is the bureaucracy, the military-industrial complex, illegally using data for political takeover, as we know has come out in England, where Parliament is secretly being spied on. They then use dirt on Parliament to make them vote to continue the illegal spying that makes the Rupert Murdoch phone hacking scandal look like child's play. I mean, this is just unbelievable, the ramifications of this.
Yeah, that's why I was saying they have this, collecting all this bulk data gives them the ability to find information on anybody in the world, and therefore use that as leverage or blackmail against either them or someone they care about. So, and that's how you leverage people. That's the standard KGB tactics for doing it.
So you spent 30 years fighting the KGB. William Binney's our guest, and now we are becoming the KGB. Simply astounding. Another question comes in from the Dead Reds. He says, is there a wake-up, at Real Alex Jones on Twitter, is there a wake-up inside NSA, good people within wanting to make a change? I think you kind of already answered that earlier, saying that, yes, they use the NSA system and have a whole NSA division that's come out to spy on the employees, not to stop foreign espionage, but to stop people from exposing crime.
Yes, that's right.
Amazing. Continuing, if we can't rely on elected politicians, asks CWED762, when all is lost, do you believe we can rely on military rebellion to help in Reconstruction? William Binney.
Well, I think there's going to be a fundamental revolution coming, because I think, at least from my sense of it, is the people in America here are starting to wake up to this threat. They're starting to realize the dangers of what's going on. And I think that's going to be a ground-based, from the bottom up revolution that's going to push these people to do the right thing. I mean, otherwise, I think we ought to fire them. I mean, after all, They are the ones that got us to where we are, and we are here because of them. They should be fired. That's all. That's the way I look at it. And then we should have a special prosecutor come back and clean it up. I mean, we have to do this. We have to hold these people accountable, or else it's going to continue. Like, for example, I blame this all on Jerry Ford, because Jerry Ford pardoned Nixon. Nixon was already indicted. He was going to go into court, and then Ford pardoned him. That's why I didn't vote for him, by the way. I voted for Jimmy Carter because he pardoned Nixon. I mean, that was the ultimate insult. I mean, what he was trying to do, what he did effectively was say, the president is above the law. His get-out-of-jail-free card is the next president. And that meant that things could only get worse since then, and that's what's happened.
Obviously, Obama is a puppet, but Boehner says that he shouldn't be impeached. I understand, as Ron Paul says on this show just a few weeks ago, all of them should be impeached who've been voting for this NSA and who know what's going on. Congress likes to pass the buck on to the president, but Obama more and more is acting like a dictator. Doesn't it send the right message to start impeachment of Obama on the NSA front? And then let's go and impeach Boehner as well. Shouldn't we see a constitutional, legal, lawful purge